presenting cells will present the antigenic to determine to the T cells to help. You know, is this something we need to deal with? And the helper T cells can go, yes, we do. And then the helper T cells will select B cells that recognize that same antigen. So kind of go through the memory banks. Have we found, do we have this? No? Okay. Can we make this? Yes. Okay. Now that we have something that will fight that antigen, make a bunch of it. Clonal selection. Whichever one works, that's the one you go with. And it activates that B cell, those B cells to proliferate. You want, once you find something that works, you want a whole lot of it. Okay? That make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so B cell activation by the helper T cells. Remember helper T cells, we got our CD4, T cell receptors. And so you're going to have, it's going to come along, hey, we have this antigen. Do you recognize it? And if it does, it's going to turn on. The T cells are going to go, okay, so now we need to go find B cells. This is an issue we should be dealing with. And goes through, checks, okay, which ones? Ah, you have it. Okay, well then let's start cloning and start making a bunch of these. Okay, so present it, T cell. Is this something we need to fight? T cell says yes, it goes, turns on the B cells going, which one of you is right? You, go. Okay, so it selects, then starts cloning, so you get tons of antibodies being made. Also goes, okay, well since this was an issue, we're going to make a couple more memory cells. Make sure we keep this floating around. That's why you get booster shots, because you might have, you know, over time, some of those might have faded. But if you take a booster shot, then all of a sudden your body's going to go, oh, this is actually an issue we should be dealing with. And so you'll ramp up and you'll have more memory B cells, so then if you actually do get that problem, you can have that secondary response very quickly. You ever wondered why you use boosters? Okay, so antibody production. You have T-dependent antigens, proteins. The production of antibodies requires the assistance of the helper T cells. Then if it's T cell independent antigens, then these are antigens that are stimulate B cells without the helper T cells. So you either can require T cells or not require them. So if it's proteins, you're going to require the T cells. But if we're talking about polysaccharides or liposaccharides, then you're going to be needing, you don't need the T cells. It's one of those things where, does this have a chance of being us? Or it's got a lot less of a chance of being us. This is usually more foreign stuff. So what kind of, you know, category is it in? How many levels of checks do we need for our immune system? Okay. So, T-independent antigen. So, you have your receptors, you have your B cells. Okay, so they've been presented. It's independent. They just see something, this is not correct. And they start making plasma cells. Remember, plasma cells are what produces the antibodies. What is the other thing B cells make?
Memory cells.
Memory cells. Okay, so you're either going to be making plasma cells to produce and crank out antibodies, or you're going to be making a memory cell. Okay, cytotoxic T cell response. So sometimes your helper T cells, they can, you know, stimulate it. And they can activate cytotoxic T cells. We talked about this, the CD4s versus the CD8s. Okay? So the CD4s helper cells have to activate the toxic cells. So something's going on. You have a cell that's infected with a virus. You have a cancerous cell. You have self that needs to be killed because it's not quite right. And so these activated cytotoxic T cells locate target cells and they destroy them. So you just go in and you have this corporate. So what it does is it goes in and creates a pore in the cell. So it's a virally infected cell. And so somehow the inactive apoptotic enzymes get activated. So either the T cell can do it, or sometimes some viruses can actually turn off those signals. And so this T cell, the cytotoxic T cells, can come along and they can activate apoptosis through the pore that they created. So they create their own pore, their own direct link into that cell to send the signal, you need to create out, you need to die. Or again, if you have, you can also just have they can have the membrane, two signals can touch each other, but bottom line is you have inactive apoptotic enzymes, they get activated, the cell goes through apoptosis. Antigen present, helper T cells, colonial expansion. Cytotoxic T cells. So, antigen is present. You get the helper T cells differentiating, going, okay, we know what this is. Remember, we have those interleukins. They're how they communicate between cells. So those interleukins, you have an inactive T cell, which can then be turned active. And goes, gets its signals, starts being active, goes to a memory T cell, comes down, is an active T cell, TC cell, so cytotoxic cell, so it's now going to go. Now that it's active, it's going to go create holes in the cells where it's triggered to and induce apoptosis. All because of whatever antigen the helper T cells recognized. So this is all about presenting things on the membrane of a cell so that your body can know what's going on inside the cell. So you can have these, these T cells, the helper T cells can kind of go along your body and just kind of sample cell membranes and what are the proteins, what is being presented by these cells. And if one of those cells is presenting some kind of antigen, then it can go, oh, we need to deal with this. And it can signal the cascade, turning on the cytotoxic, because of itself, our regular antibodies aren't going to necessarily recognize it, so you need to have something else that's going to very specifically go in and target. So our acquired immunity. We have naturally acquired immunity, so this is response to antigens that we encounter in our daily life. You can have artificial acquired, which is response to antigens produced via vaccine. Active, something that's actually going on right now. You have an active immunity versus a passive. Kind of just remembering B cells just sitting there. Okay, so does that make sense? So natural, something you came in contact with. Artificial, something you were given. So that's where the antibodies come from. So this is kind of where you can see. So a lot of time that natural, or we can be giving, this is why they always encourage breast milk, because you can then be giving, secreting antibodies in breast milk, which then can be given to the child. But does this make sense?
What's passive again?
Yeah. Memory cells. It's kind of there, but not quite.
One of the things on mastering the question was, if a guy got bit by a snake bite, which one would you give him? And the answer was artificial passive. And it seemed like it should be artificial active.
Well, passive also though, so if you were breastfeeding a child, that would be passive because they are getting antibodies from somebody else. So they don't have to make they don't have to mount the immune response. They're just given the tools. So they don't have to go through that primary. They can just go to the secondary. So that's the passive. Is you actually get the antibodies from somebody else.
And then if it's active,
you had to do it. Activate your immune system.
So the vaccine is artificial.
Vaccine is artificial.
Which one?
just artificial, because you can see how you can have natural and artificial, you know, natural or artificial, active or passive, those are the two kind of get shoved together,
So what's an example of natural passive?
something your mother came in contact with and passed to you through breast milk?
So is that like if she was taking like, antibiotics or something? Or
She walked outside and had some microbe, you know, infect her, so she came in contact with it.
so now you have.
Or she came in contact with the virus. You now have the immune system to fight that virus.
Okay.
You weren't ever sick, you never had that virus, but because she was.
Gotcha.
And so she's become this way. Okay,
She changed that. She first said it was this, and then she said it was that.
we good? Okay, so we'll start the next chapters next time.